Morning, everyone. This literally is morning. The sun's not up yet. I'm going to go visit with my son today, so I wanted to make sure I got this recorded. I'm messing with the mouse this morning. It is really acting up. It keeps sending false signals. Well, this is a day of false signals from the world, so I guess it's appropriate. But it's a tool, so I'm going to have to go buy another tool and see if that solves the problem. If it doesn't, then I'm not sure what to do next, but we're going to work on one thing at a time. Today's message is we're continuing on in Revelation. We saw all the destruction, the seals and trumpets. And now we've got a little bit of a reprieve where God's filling in some information. And so I'm titling this, God Goes Out of His Way, which is hard to understand in a godly term. In a human term, we understand what going out of our way means. But God's omnipresent, so how do you do that? So just try to translate this from an earthly point of view and assign it to God. But basically, it's the Good Samaritan story, where the guy is mugged and left on the street. I'm not going to read it, I'll just tell you. He's mugged and left on the street, and people are walking by. We probably see this in major cities today. People have probably witnessed this and don't do anything. So the guy was mugged, left on the street, and along comes a proper Jewish businessman. He crosses the street and goes to the other side so he doesn't have to see the guy or have the guy see him. And he doesn't have to help. He's late for the office. He can't take time for someone like this. And you got a couple of rabbis coming along, and they see the man and do the same thing. They cross over to the other side and don't offer any help. And finally along comes a Samaritan, which were considered back then lower class citizens. They were considered, people on the other side of the tracks. The Samaritan comes by and finds the man, stays on the side of the street that he's on, finds him, helps him up a little bit, finds out a little bit about what's going on, and then he takes him to the local inn. He probably had, pick him up and lean him on the shoulder as he's walking him along. He leaves him at the inn, and he says, well, I'm traveling for a while now, so I'm going to pay for a few days, and when I come back, if he uses more money than I've paid for, that's okay, I'll cover it. And he goes on his way. He still had an appointment to get to, but he took the time to care for somebody. He went out of his way to help somebody. And that's kind of what God does every day for us. But these examples we have here in Revelation, God's going out of his way. He tells us to be witnesses and to spread the gospel. Well, we're switching from, when we get into Revelation heavy, we're switching from the church age back to the chosen people age, the Jews. And that's where we are now. So he's explaining things so that we understand it, the Jews understand it, and we along with them. But he's giving us examples where he goes out of his way to help the people to get the message out. God doesn't want anybody to go to hell. Period. But he won't step over the line when it comes to free will. We all have the choice. Do we want God or do we want the world? Now, those of us that are down here, this is all we know. We don't know any better. But if you want a good example, I've used this all the time. Satan, the world's worst being right now, but he's providing the alternate side, the yin and the yang, if you will. God's the good side, Satan's the bad side. He's given us the choice. He doesn't live on earth, he lives in heaven. He comes down here to torment us, but he goes back to heaven. As nice as we may think this is, look at the beautiful scenery behind me. As nice as we think this is nothing compared to heaven. Even the devil doesn't live down here. Well, we see in Revelation 12 that he will be forced to, which is good. And again, that Revelation 12 set of information that we have there expands out over a longer period of time. All these vignettes. People are getting up and coming into the park. Some are leaving, some are arriving. Yesterday was a rainy day, and a little bit of last night. So the people that couldn't fish yesterday are coming to fish today. Who is this? That's somebody leaving the park, not coming in. Okay. Yeah, it's a little early to be arriving. Now the gate will be open because the gate doesn't have an automatic closer. You have to type in the number to open it and then type in the number to close it. And when people leave in the morning, they're told you just leave it open, even if you leave at 5 a.m. Okay, so is that the trash truck? Might be. Sounds like it. I know. Distractions. I think that's what that is. Well, we get other sound effects for this morning. Besides the birds, we get the other sound effects. Okay. So, God sends his two witnesses. We just read about that. To make sure that the message gets out. And they are given power to do miracles, signs, and wonders so that people will pay attention. So now he's going to send 144,000. Again, this is to the Jews now. We're now in the 70th week. And again, we don't know the time frame exactly. We're told how long, but we don't know the start. That's the hard part. For everything that we're reading, with the exception of the abomination of desolation, we don't know exactly, precisely when something starts. We know that it's in this time window, and we may know roughly when it ends, but we don't know when it starts. Okay, so we're going to be reading out of Revelation 14. So turn to Revelation 14:1. I saw and behold the Lamb standing on the Mount of Zion, and with him 144,000. Okay. This is not real unless it's all the way at the end, after Jesus has returned. But that's not what this is telling us about. So this has got to be figuratively. Jesus, this is a vision that John is seeing. So he's seeing Jesus, essentially, the Lamb, standing on the Mount of Zion, which is the high mount above Jerusalem, and with him 144,000. The number is significant. We'll get to that. But he's going out of his way again to provide witnesses. Having his name and the name of the Father written on their foreheads. Having Yahweh and Yeshua written on their foreheads. There's no doubt where they're from, and Satan will use the forehead for his number later on. And I heard a voice from heaven as a voice of many waters, and the voice of a great thunder. And the voice which I heard, which was on the voice of harpers, harping with their harps. Not harpies, harpers. If you're a gamer, you know what a harpy is. Okay, but these are people playing their harps. I don't know. They got they got a strap over their shoulder and they're playing them like a guitar. I don't know. Are they sitting down, playing their harps? A harp is not a boisterous, like a trumpet. A harp is more of a calming, just some background music to calm things. And they sing, as it were, a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders, the 24 elders. We've seen the throne room already from John's visions. And no man could learn the song save the 144,000, even they that had been purchased out of the earth. So God is giving them a new message, a final message to the Jews and ultimately to the world. Now, here's a definite miracle. These are they that were not defiled with women, for they were virgins. In this day and age, one of the comedians says a virgin is an ugly third grader. It's sad, but that's almost a commentary for the world that we're in. These are they that follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. They were purchased from among men to be firstfruits of God under the Lamb. So they were appointed for this. And they were without blemish. Again, signatory to Jesus' sacrifice. Any sacrifice that has to be made to God has to be without blemish. And I saw another angel flying in from heaven, having eternal good tidings to proclaim unto them that dwell on the earth, and unto every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. Nation, tribe, tongue, and people, the world. If it's not saying that, it's talking to Jerusalem, or to Israel. And he saith with a great voice, Fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made the heaven and the earth, and the sea, and the fountains, and the waters. So we're getting some good attention from God right now. And a second angel followed, saying, Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, that has made all the nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. That's pretty significant. The organization right now that's paying for these riots in support of the devil, Hamas is following the lead of the devil. The group that's paying for the destruction of the world governments, the world entities, so that they can become the one world government, this Babylon is destroyed. Babylon was never destroyed way back. He scattered them. They weren't destroyed. They reunited today, the descendants of the flood. These were the survivors of the flood that had gotten so numerous that God told them to spread out and cover the earth, and they chose not to. They created one city so they could govern from one city. It's the same mindset. Another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a great voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receiveth the mark of his forehead upon his head, he shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God. So this is afterwards, because we've already had the mark of the beast. The beast has been destroyed. Continuing on, which is prepared unmixed in this cup of anger, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. This is some of God's allowing punishment. He doesn't punish, but he allows it. And then the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day and night. They that worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. This is why you don't want to get the mark of the beast. Now, if you're a Christian and you're hearing this, don't worry, you won't ever have to get the mark. But if you're not a Christian and you're just watching because you're curious, you're going to miss the rapture, and you're going to still be down here. There will be hope for you, but don't take the mark, or there is no hope. Here is the patience of the saint, that they keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from henceforth, saith the Spirit, and they that rest from their labors, for their works follow with them. It's not over yet, but this is good. Again, we're looking at vignettes that cover long time frames, and this is towards the end. And I saw, and behold, in 14, a white cloud, and on the cloud I saw one sitting like the Son of Man. It is the Son of Man. If it's going to say like the Son of Man, it is the Son of Man, but they always do it backwards. It's just the way they write. Having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the temple, crying with a great voice to him that sat on the cloud, Send forth thy sickle and reap, for the hour to reap is come, and the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud cast his sickle upon the earth, and the earth was reaped. This is a rapture towards the end. For those that think there's only one rapture or post-rapture, this is it. You've missed the other two, but this one's here. Another angel came out from the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, he that hath power over fire, and he called with a great voice to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Send forth thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. You go to a grapevine, you don't take one grape at a time off. You grab the whole bunch, and you're carrying a large, long cluster of grapes. And the angel cast his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vintage of the earth, and cast it into the winepress. This is something they understood. They knew exactly what this meant. The great winepress of the wrath of God. We're during that time. This is the second half. This is culmination of stuff. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and there came out blood from the winepress, even unto the bridles of the horses, as far as 1,600 furlongs. That's a long ways. This is separating. When you've got wine, when you've got grapes, what you want is the juice from the grapes. You want in this case, the blood. Life is in the blood. We're going to continue on because I want to try to get through this. It seems to be there's so much information, it's dragging, and I'm trying to get through this. I want to get to verse 21. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having 7 plagues. Another sign in heaven, 7 plagues. OMG. And I use that phrase literally. Which are the last, for it is them finishing the wrath of God. This is the final bit. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that come off victorious from the beast, and from his image, and from the number of his name, standing by the sea of glass, having harps of God. Those that survived. And they were singing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Great and marvelous are thy works, O Lord God, the Almighty, the righteous, the true are thy ways, thou King of ages. Who shall not fear, O Lord, and glorify thy name? Still singing. For thou art holy, for all the nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy righteous acts have been made manifest. After these things I saw, and the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven was opened. God opens his temple. And there came out from the temple the 7 angels that had the 7 plagues, arrayed with precious stone, pure, bright, and girt about their breasts with golden girdles. Again, John is seeing these visions. We don't know if they are legitimate like we're being told, or this is just how he interprets what he sees, speaking from his own terms. We get all kinds of stuff from these prophets. We get flying saucers and all kinds of things, especially if you read Ezekiel. So it's just what they interpret from their knowledge of the world. And one of the 4 living creatures gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden bowls of the wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of God and from the power, and none was able to enter into the temple till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels should be finished. I'm going to stop reading here. We had a little bit of a reprieve, but this is not good. These are for the people that have already had everything up to this point, and they're still not giving in. They still won't accept God. They still won't accept Jesus. God has gone out of his way to help. Every time I put something up to my face, it messes with the camera. I guess I have to stop doing that. I don't know where my bottle is. It might work. Anyhow, we're getting to the end. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting to the end. We're seeing the wrath of God. As Christians, this is one of the reasons we have a pre-trib rapture. Someone said, prove it, that there's a pre-trib rapture. I've proved it a million times when we've done these videos, so I'm not going to address that. It has to be pre-trib, because we're not subject to wrath, but I will accept pre-wrath, although I can't explain how it would work. But it's got to be at the beginning or the first half. There's no way we're in the second half. There's no way we're going to be around with any of this. This is not good stuff. We've already seen the covering of 2 woes. There's still the 3rd woe, and we're getting close. But we're going to see this. This is at the end, and then we're going to change gears again and go back and pick up another section of time overlapping a lot of this. This is all overlapping visions. So this is not a linear thing. You can't go from, I won't say from chapter to chapter, because sometimes a vision covers multiple chapters. But the theme, the topic, is a vision that God has given to John, Jesus has given to John, of the things that are going to happen. And the important thing is what is the theme of what's going on. The length of time is dependent upon what's going on. We saw the seals went from close to the beginning all the way to the end. You can't go all the way to the end and then come back and put something in the middle, unless they're all separate visions. And that's the way you have to teach Revelation. It is not linear Greek. It's prophetic visions. He gets a series of them. It's not just one. Now, what we have written down is one book. I think that if they would have thought about it, I don't know how to change, I wouldn't change the book, but people that have taught this for years that taught it linear, it didn't make sense to them, but yet they taught it. It's only until recently that people have taken the time to study it and to figure this out. You can, if you start at the back and work your way forward, you can kind of get a rough timeline of some of this stuff. Of each one of these visions, you can work your way back. But again, we don't know the start of any of these visions. That's the problem. Now, we won't be here, especially for this stuff. I believe in the pre-trib, which means we won't be here before the Antichrist. We're the restraining force that prevents him from stepping forward. The beast is working. The beast is working now. Not the beast. The harlot is working now. She's conforming the world. The beast is working with her, but he's in a subservient role. We're not going to know him yet. When the beast is destroyed, he can step forward. Again, vignettes. It's such a key. When we start off again, I will try to finish and get all the way up to 21. It's going to be tough. We're at 16, chapter 16 now. 17, 18, and 19 are again rough. And we've already learned about the 144,000. We learned about that previously. So how can it be linear? All this was done for the purpose of waking people up, giving them a choice. You want the world? I'm going to make the world so miserable that you're going to look for an alternative. Some of you will. Some of you are so ingrained in the world that you will not accept anything. And if you won't accept anything, you get the punishment of Sodom and Gomorrah. What God offers is so much better than the world. But the world is not stable. It is not a good place. Satan lies about it constantly. Because if you're down here, you're not in heaven. And that, in Satan's mind, is a victory for him. It's my firm belief that we really don't have anybody who's ever been to heaven and come back. Now, people may have visions that they've done this, and the visions are just visions. We can create the visions in our mind, so can Satan. I don't believe that there is any individual who's reception of Jesus who's ever been to heaven and come back. Because if we had, we'd do everything we could to get off this earth and go to heaven. It'd be like Groundhog Day, where he was trying to end the day, and he tried to kill himself a million different ways. Taking a toaster in the bathtub, or jumping off a building, or playing chicken with the train. Everything that he did to try to kill himself, he just again woke up in the morning. Still on earth, 6 a.m., Sonny and Cher playing on the radio. But if we knew what heaven was really like, we'd be doing what he did. So that's why we don't. We don't have anybody that really knows what heaven is like. Again, Satan lives there, not down here. until sometime when Revelation 12 happens, when he gets kicked out of heaven. We're not sure the timing on that. Be safe, people. We don't have to go through this stuff, but we have to go all the way up to the start of the tribulation. We have to go up to the Antichrist. And the world will not be a pleasant place. It can't be. Because for them to take over, they have to destroy everything that we know. All countries have to be destroyed. Israel, the country of God, will be last, but it will be there. They will try to destroy Israel. Gog and Magog. God will have to step in because there won't be anybody else in the world helping them. The United States is doomed. We are not going to survive our choices, the government choices. The sad thing is that the people that are good in this country are going to have to suffer a little bit along with the bad people. That's why you have to be ready, be prepared. This country is going to suffer for turning their back on Israel. Continue prepping if you've already started, good for you. If you haven't, you'd better. Think about what would happen if you couldn't go to the market and buy anything, for whatever reason. How long would you survive in your house or your apartment? It won't be long. And we've got work to do. If we're still here, we have work to do. And we're being told to prep. All the people looking at the end times are telling you to be prepared. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. Well, here's a view out the window, a full view. That's where I was seated doing my video this morning. But that's what I see. That's my morning view. The window's open. There were birds out here earlier. The geese that come out walk along this grass out there. I just saw 2 cranes fly by. You can hear some of the nature sounds. Have a blessed day, everyone.